Hello, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Code and Create, brought to you by myself, Joe Davies, and Orbis Connect. Today, joined by Guilherme Reese, or G, which is short and easier. Hi, G. G's a principal engineer at Chip. How are you, G?
Good. Thanks for the invite, by the way.
No worries. Thanks for joining us. Whereabouts are you at the moment?
North London.
Oh,
yeah.
No, not too far then from me. G is going to be talking to us today about open banking and specifically how to build an open banking app in 1 hour. Some of you might have been following G on LinkedIn. He's been quite active during this whole lockdown period with quite a lot of videos, and he's done a really cool short open banking in 1 minute video that was quite got quite a lot of attention a few weeks back. So we thought we'd expand on that. And yeah, I mean, we're giving him an extra sort of 59 minutes to expand on that, so it should be pretty good. So yeah, just as we go along, if you're watching on Crowdcast, guys, as always, get your questions in at the bottom. There's an Ask a Question tab. Any questions you've got for G, we'll try and get round to them at the end, as many as we can. Or if you're watching on LinkedIn, get them in the comments. We'll keep an eye on that as well. Yeah, so we'll try and get round to as many as possible. We've got a few polls as well down the bottom. Just interesting to see how many of you have created an open banking app before or used TrueLayer, which is an API that G is going to be talking about. So a lot of people are no's at this point. About 90% of you are no. So this should be really informative, really helpful, and yeah, a fun chat. So and let us know where you're tuning in from as well. It's always interesting. I've seen already a few people that have joined us before at these Code and Create events. So yeah, let us know where you're tuning in from. Always nice to see. So yeah, G, tell us about yourself, what you do, Chip. Give us an overview.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm principal engineer at Chip. So basically, my day-to-day is like to think about like the new features and how can we make our customers to love more Chip and love like savings as well, right? So Chip, for those who doesn't know, is like an app that helps you to put money away from your current bank account and literally helps you to go towards your goals. So basically, you can like for myself, I always got struggled to save my entire life. And even before I joined Chip, mate, I was using Chip already. And for the first time, I saved like my 300 pounds in this country was using Chip. Because I mean, like, that's the difficult, isn't it? Like, so difficult for you to go to your bank account and sign up, like, even though like a standing order, sign up like standing order to move money away from your bank account. It's like, for me, it's like that feeling that you have to grab your money. That's the issue. So Chip helps you literally analyze how much you spend, and we try to figure out like the best value or how much you could afford to move money away. And we use like a bunch of different cool technologies to do that. And one of them will be like open banking, which enables our customers to easily connect their bank account into Chip. We analyze how much you spend, and then based upon on your spending, we can predict a better value that you could afford to move money away. And as a principal engineer, my role at Chip is like to help the company to design a new infrastructure and design new structure architecture decisions for new features. And I've been leading the open banking there as well, alongside with other great developers that we have there as well.
Cool. Yeah, definitely sounds like a cool app. It's something that I could definitely use. I must admit, I'm terrible with saving as well. Even sitting at home for the last 2 months, I've not been able to go out, and I've still managed not to save a penny. But there you go.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard.
yeah. So yeah, as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be discussing, I guess, in a bit more detail, the video that you put out, G. In terms of building that open banking app using TrueLayer API. Can you give us a little background on TrueLayer as well, in terms of what that is and how it
comes
into
the moment,
building it?
Yeah, at the moment we have like multiple providers that help you to connect your company to open banking API, right? In order for you to connect to open banking API, you should be regulated by FCA. And that could be like, you could be like an agent of those companies, or you could be regulated by yourself. And there are too many providers out there. And we decided to move to TrueLayer a few months ago due to this new open banking regulation, and TrueLayer came across as like one of the best options that we could see in the market. So TrueLayer is a company that helps you to connect your customer data to you. So they literally they map out all the open banking for each bank, so you don't have to care about it. You can go with TrueLayer, and with TrueLayer you can easily like, hey, give me that customer information, even though that could be for HSBC or Lloyd's, or they're gonna literally act in the middle to abstract all those complexity that you may have for different banks. And then you don't have to care about like multiple banks. You just have to care about focusing on the one single implementation, and they're gonna deal this everything for you after. So TrueLayer is basically not only for the data, but now they are starting to do payments as well. So you can do payment initiation, which you can bypass the middle company. Like you don't have anymore to do like a payment process using like some checkout in the middle. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, cool. Right, so let's get into it. I know you've put together a presentation for us, G. Should we start with? Yeah, if you just bring your screen up, I can share it.
Can I share my screen here? Cool.
Yeah, sure.
Right. So
yeah, I guess I'll let you run through it, G. But it'd be good, I guess, to start with the basics, I guess, in terms of what is open banking, why do we use it?
Yeah, definitely. So basically, I just like me pass down this phase. So for those who know, G, myself. But by the way, that quote is awesome. So the starting point of all achievement is desire. So if you're designed to build something great, here's like the quote. But the problem is this: the access to financial customer data before open banking was very restricted. So as you can see, like the number of startups that we have in the financial market, they wasn't too high, because like in order for you to connect with like financial institutions, you would have to have either a specific agreement directly with the institution, or you would have to literally bypass those regulations and do like a banking scraping, which is like when a customer gives you their one credential, you store securely that credential, but you use behind on the behalf of the customer. So a lot of companies, they were doing this like previously a few years ago. But what happened was like after open banking came, companies across like all financial institutions, they started to build like 2FA, so two factors authentication, and that broke the entirely experience to do any kind of access to customer behind their scenes, right? So open banking came to help this, right? So basically, it's like a regulation which the government applied and ask for financial institutions, hey, you have to share your data. You have to provide some way that third party can and connect with you, which means like now we have companies like TrueLayer or any other company that they are regulated by FCA that they can connect to your bank and can do lots of different things. After open banking, we saw almost the double of the number of fintechs, which is like awesome, right? We almost doubled the number now, so 20 on 2020. And that's like the whole thing about it, right? I mean, like now we're gonna have more competition for the financial market as well. And that, I think that's awesome. So open banking is like everything that is related to anything regarding financial data. So it's not only watching for our customer financial data, but that could be for payment initiation as well, or this kind of products that you have in the market. So basically that's open banking. And now I would like to start with you guys to how we gonna build this, right? So basically, I just wanted to say that's all this data that I'm gonna showcase that's completely available online for everybody. So everything that I'm gonna do this now, I took directly from TrueLayer website and TrueLayer GitHub repository that you can do the same. And we're gonna be covering up those features, right? So we would like to easily connect to your customer bank account, fetch account information, fetch account balance, and fetch transactions as well. So the first thing is like, how does this connection happen, right? So what's the relationship between us, TrueLayer, and the customer? And here are a few flow that happen between us and the bank. So here, as you can see, we are the application, and basically we're going to be requesting the authentication link to send back to our customer. So we're going to build up that authentication link using TrueLayer authentication. We send that to the customer, and the customer will go directly to TrueLayer, which they're going to be authorized. They're going to be selecting the bank. And once the customer, they receive that, they're going to go and access directly to the bank. So basically, TrueLayer will have to request the customer consent in order to send the customer to the bank, right?
Is that a quick process?
Yeah, I mean, it should be very quickly. And by the way, you can bypass this process if you already have the FCA authorization. But basically, before we share or before we collect any financial data, we have to we have to request your consent to do this, right? So basically, what TrueLayer is doing here is like literally, hey, we need your consent in order to request the data to our banks. And after we got this consent, we send directly the customer to the bank, and the bank will literally run through again for you to select your account, or if you have like a card, what type of information that you would like to share. And basically, they're going to send back to TrueLayer and say, hey, all right, the customer gave their consent. That's their account. That's the data. And now the bank will share a token with TrueLayer. And TrueLayer will create another code with us that we're going to be able to use that code in order to request the access token. So what happens like this, for TrueLayer perspective, they doesn't hold any type of bank information, which is good. I think that's awesome because TrueLayer by itself, they just act in the middle, right, to make the communication happen between your app and the bank. So
they don't access anyone's. Sorry to interrupt. They don't access anyone's personal data at any time.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like very cool, isn't it? Because whatever it is your request, you know that your customer financial data is very secure either with you or with the bank itself. Yeah. So for TrueLayer is much more like, hey, what would you like? Oh, I would like to have some transactions. All right. So they ask for the bank, they grab those transactions and send right back to you. Yeah. And that's amazing. But in order for you to do this, they keep this relationship, they keep the token with the bank for them to be able to request this type of information in any time that we need. But for TrueLayer perspective, we have another extra layer of security, right? So we have this token, and with the token and the client's secret, we can always request a short-lived access token. So, and that's, by the way, that's the same behavior that happened with the bank itself. So let's say that right now I would like to access someone's transactions. They just gave me the consent and they just sign up in their bank app as well. So by the time that I request TrueLayer, hey, please give me one access token for that bank, they're gonna send a request to bank, and the bank will say, all right, so here's like one access token for you, TrueLayer, which got like a short period of time. Sometimes it was like 8 to 10 minutes. And then you have this window, 10 minutes, to request any type of data that you would like to request for the customer. Of course, there is like some few restrictions that we can talk further down the line, but basically that's how it happens now. And once you got the access token, then you can literally request to the data API for TrueLayer. They're gonna literally forward the request to the bank, and whatever they receive, they send straight away to the app, right? So
that would have this flow of process would happen on each transaction. Every single transaction, or
so not for each transaction. That's another. By the way, that's a good question. So basically, you can request like a specific period of time, and from TrueLayer endpoint, you can literally specify from like January 2020 up to today, and they're gonna literally try to make all these requests, and they're gonna send in a single chunk of a bunch of transactions for you. The request could be synchronously, which means like you can request the transactions and expect to receive at the same moment, which I think that is awesome as well to have that possibility. Because just think about it, sometimes you need to see the latest transaction from your customer, right? So basically what they're gonna do, they're gonna send the same request to the bank, they're gonna fetch from the year to date, and they're gonna send back to you. Or you can decide to receive those transactions in a synchronous way. So you can provide like a callback. So you just say, hey, TrueLayer, give me the last 2 years of transactions. And once you're finished, just let me know in this URL, and they're going to call us back in that URL.
Sure.
Which means like you have this more like you don't need to literally put so much stress on your system for a synchronous call.
Yeah.
So going in a very practical way, I'm a little bit concerned about the time as well. So here, only for you to know, you can go to TrueLayer right now. You can open one account. It's easy. It's free for the sandbox, of course. And once you got your sandbox account, you can grab your client ID, your client secret, and here are the allowed redirect URL. So that's another layer of security. So TrueLayer will not allow any URL to use your one key on your one secret, right? So you have to whitelist your URL. And then we're going to go to TrueLayer GitHub, which you can download the latest TrueLayer client JavaScript. This is like a Node.js application. And I used this one, exactly this one. And I just did like a few bits, but yeah. And then we're going to cover up now easy way to connect our customer bank. So the first thing that we have to do is like, we have to build the URL. So after you've done all the process on TrueLayer, you whitelist. So for example, you're going to see that I'm using ngrok, which is like a proxy funnel for me to connect to my local. And by the way, for those who doesn't know, I'm going to literally show here, just ngrok, you can easily download and use for you. So that will literally we'll create like a custom public URL and will point to my local environment. So using this, I whitelist that URL on TrueLayer. And then what we're going to do is, here's like, you're going to put your client secret, your client ID, you're going to specify the scope. So what would you like to ask the consent for your client and for? So here I would like to ask consent for account information, account list, balance for each account, all your transactions. I would like to request, offline access that I can literally fetch your data. And I would like to request information from your cards as well. And then we have mock providers. That's all providers that I would like to use. And here you can even specify specific banks. So let's say that you can only let your clients to be connected with Lloyd's or HSBC. You can specify the name of the bank here as well. And then we're gonna build up the URL. Here you can see that we are using TrueLayer client to do this. And we get the auth URL, and then we're gonna redirect the customer directly to the connect phase. So how that works will be literally, that's the process. So we have to set up the ngrok funnel. We have to change the redirect URL, and we run Node.js, we whitelist the URL, then we are good to go. So far, so good, guys. Am I going too fast, or please let me know, right?
Yeah, no, it's all good. It's just one question from me. So the sandbox thing you mentioned earlier, G, it's not something I've heard of or familiar with. What is that exactly?
Good question, mate. So basically, here is my sandbox account. So basically, in order for you to test your whole application, you have this mock bank that TrueLayer built up for you. So basically, the same behavior that you would expect in a real life with this API, you can simulate this using a sandbox account. So sandbox account is your test environment. So with you can literally test the flow, test like all the faces, test the connection that you have with TrueLayer, test the API, and it should work exactly in the same way as you were using a real bank. And that's awesome. So that's my sandbox account, by the way. That's my ngrok funnel. That is literally pointing to my local environment. By the way, I'm running this now. So as you can see, I've got the same code here. I just updated my ngrok. And as you can see, it's pointing to my local environment here. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to try to connect to that URL. So I'm going to copy here. And once I open this, what I expect is to reach this target here, this endpoint. And that will literally build up the auth URL for me, which contains the redirect URL, the scopes, Nouns, by the way, it's just like your unique ID that you would like to provide for that specific customer. So I'm literally doing like some random number here. And then I'm going to redirect the customer to TrueLayer. So let's see what could happen. So if I open URL, paste this, and that's amazing. I'm already on TrueLayer Sandbox. So that's exactly the screen that your customer will see. So here you can change your images, the name of the company, and that's the scope, right? So because I've asked for personal information, accounts, transactions, balance, and card, they're gonna literally request that information. Once I allow, TrueLayer will redirect me to my bank. So now I'm gonna have to specify the bank. I can bypass this check as well. So I'm gonna select mock. And now I'm already on my bank. So what happens is like this. If you select HSBC for some reason, you would already be landing on HSBC off page. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to sign up only for us. I know that I'm bypassing some steps here, but only for us to see like the full cycle. I'm connecting to my bank. And now I should be able to fetch token, have my access token, request accounts, fetch the first account, and request transactions. All this happening at the same time.
So, G, sorry to, just to ask. So you mentioned earlier when you was explaining TransferWise, you mentioned they don't collect anyone's data or they don't store anyone's data. But there on the graphic you just showed, you're asking for that person's personal information, I guess. So that must be like quite highly regulated.
Yeah, that form is just like the mock bank. So that form would be like HSBC page and would be TrueLayer page. Now it is just TrueLayer page because they are simulating a bank, right? You know, did you get? So that page here that I just signed up as my username and password is like a mock version. It's just like a fake bank for me to simulate if I was on Lloyd's, for example.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I think I lost you there for a minute, G. I think it's my Wi-Fi. But
sorry,
yeah, go carry on. That's all right. No problem at all. Carry on.
All right, cool. Some issue here. Nice. So basically what that will do will literally send me back all the information of transactions, right? So basically I went through all this process. I gave the consent from TrueLayer. I selected the bank, but that phase, it is already myself on my personal bank that I choose. So if I choose Lloyd's, it's myself on Lloyd's. And after I'm successful connected to TrueLayer and I gave and my bank authorized my access, I'm gonna receive all the access token in order to share with TrueLayer, and literally, all the access token and the code from TrueLayer that I can literally use that to fetch more information. So basically, that's like the basic step, right? Because that's the first thing that you have to do, like ask your customer consent and be able to restore your code in order to start fetching more information. And now the first thing that you would like to do is like fetch account information. And for that, it's like very easy. So what I'm gonna do now is like, I'm literally tricking the bits now. So we're gonna create the redirect phase, which is exactly after TrueLayer connects to the bank, they're gonna send the customer back to your app. So what happened after the customer sign up in the bank, TrueLayer will literally give you the token, right? So what I'm doing here is, as you can see, TrueLayer will literally send my customer back to this URL. From them, I'm gonna grab the code. With the code, I'm gonna exchange for an access token. And once I got my access token, I'm gonna be able to fetch the client information. So basically what I'm doing here is like literally doing the exchange and fetch for a little bit more information. And then you would see something like that. So here's like TrueLayer sending me the token, the code. And with this code, I used to exchange for the access token. And with the access token, I could fetch the customer information. So here I got the name, address, email, phones. And by the way, that's not like mandatory for the banks to provide for us. So you might see only the name. Everything else is optional for the bank to provide or not. So that's basically
right. So you'd have to get that information directly.
Yeah, because sometimes I mean, the banks, they're not like there is no how can I say, there's no enforcement for them to provide address and emails and phones. So that's why even for TrueLayer perspective, they showcase this as like an optional fields for us. And so yeah, sometimes you see here, oh, all right, cool, I'm gonna use TrueLayer to fetch my client's address, which is amazing, but that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And it's not like quite often that you can receive address and email or even phone from the bank, because that's like a sensitive information somehow that they don't provide. But that's fine. So at least we know that we found the client, which means like, cool, now I do have connection with the bank. I do have access to my customer information, which is awesome, right? And the next phase would be like more account balance. So we have this separation, so you can have like multiple accounts. So some people have like a savings account, other people have like a checking account. So for every single account that you receive, you have this entity that you hold that account ID that you receive from TrueLayer. And again, that's TrueLayer doing the abstraction in the middle. So they're gonna abstract the ID for you. They're gonna do this for you as well. And then you're gonna receive the fetch to fetch account balance. You receive the ID, and from it you can fetch your balance for that specific account. So again, what I'm doing here, I'm literally doing exactly the same thing. So the token exchange. So once TrueLayer send the customer back to me, I grab the token, I do the exchange. From the exchange, I get the access token. And then now I'm gonna fetch the balance for the first account. So here on accounts, I'm gonna literally receive all accounts. And from the first account, I literally gonna say, hey, TrueLayer, please give me the balance for that first account. So again, that's cool because you can literally understand the separation of concern that you have from API as well, right? So you can literally have like a single endpoint for accounts, another endpoint for transactions that helps you to see the separation that you have for this whole entity of information to not mess up stuff. And then what happens like this, here you're going to see that we fetch accounts. So we received as a result more than one account. So we go like a transaction account, a savings account, another transaction account. So we got like two checking accounts, transaction ones and one saving. And as you can see, account ID. So we grab this account ID, and from it we fetch the balance. And you have stuff like currency, the available information, overdraft agreements that you have as well. And by the way, sometimes you can get confused. So if you go to TrueLayer docs easily, we can find all of that information here as well. So quickly, if you go to reference and you see like account fetch balance here, so you see like that you can, overdraft is optional. So any pre-arranged overdraft limit. So everything that is available for them, they're gonna pass down to us as well.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so that is exactly what we received. And here you can think like any other types of products that you can do with this, right? So there's like lots of different ideas that you can build up only with the balance of people's balance and overdraft limits. And I mean, there's lots like different products that you have in the market that they stop right here.
Yeah.
Cool, and that's awesome. And again, you can literally go after to TrueLayer website to see that they have much more information that we're going to cover up here. And after that, I think that would be fetch transactions, which is like the main goal. So basically, I think that transactions is always like a high topic in the market because there is so many data aggregation that you can do with transactions to understand people's behavior or help people to understand themselves, like Chip is helping me to understand how I can save. And that works exactly the same. So the relationship, it is always from your account. So as long as you have access to your account, you should be able from your account fetch all transactions for each account. And that's nice as well because TrueLayer will respect the customer decision. So when you request for the customer to share the account, which I'm going to showcase how we do it here in Chip. We can only fetch information from the account that the customer selected previously in the bank app. So let's say that TrueLayer asked me my consent, send me to my bank app, but when I land to my bank app, I just select one account and not my all accounts, right? Just the checking account and not the savings account. So what happens like this: when I receive the account, I can only see the transaction account. I cannot see the savings account that the customer didn't select. So which is good, like prevents TrueLayer even to see more information that they don't have to see it, right?
Right, yeah.
So here we have the accounts. Again, we list all the accounts. We fetch the first one, and we go back to TrueLayer and ask, hey, please give me all transactions that you have for that specific account. So again, if you go back to TrueLayer documentation for transactions, you're going to see that you have a few options here, like from a specific time to a specific time. And that's exactly what you should be looking for to receive. And you're going to see like the transaction ID, timestamp, description, merchant name as well. And
so just on that, G, so what about the flow of transactions? What would there be an issue if there was, for argument's sake, thousands of transactions coming through? Does that affect it at all?
Yeah, good one, mate. Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, you cannot like literally do like lots of transactions synchronously. That could literally block, or you could put so much stress on your system. So what you might do is like you might block for not more than 3 months, or you can block like to fetch like from a specific short period of time, or you have another option that you can receive that transactions asynchronously as well. So for every single type of request that we are doing right now here in TrueLayer, like we are requesting account, balance, and transactions, you can request the information to come back asynchronously for you. And then you should be able to not put so much stress on your system, right? But the way that we are doing now, we fetch like a specific period of time that help us to not put so much stress on us on your side to do data aggregation with all this information. So what we are doing here literally is like asynchronously as well. So we fetch all the latest transactions from TrueLayer, and here what we expect to receive it exactly from their documentation. So we got like the description, transaction type. So it will be debit or could be credit, and we're gonna receive the amount, the currency, and a few method data as well. And you could use another product from TrueLayer that could leverage this whole data, this whole transaction data, to put more information for you, like categories regarding a specific transaction type, right? So you can even use this to easily do a little bit of work for you. Then you don't have to understand like for which market that belongs. So all right, that's groceries. That's like for another expanding, that's travel, and a few categories for you.
Yeah. You mentioned currency there as well, G. So, who deals with what sort of part of this process? Who deals with the actual sort of currency exchange? If there is any exchanges happening there, is that TrueLayer? Is that Chip? Is that the bank?
So basically, what happened with currency is like it's much about like the account. So when we fetch balance, if we go back here, you're gonna see that we have the currency for that specific account.
Yeah.
So which means like that account, it is running under GBP because TrueLayer is using for entire Europe, and you could receive as euros as well. So that's why it's more about like for each currency it is this. I'm not sure about exchange that happens on TrueLayer. I think that I'm not sure if we are doing any exchange on TrueLayer side, but the currency, it is very useful even for us, because at the moment that we are thinking to go outside from UK, when I say us, I mean Chip. When Chip is thinking to go outside from UK, that will help a lot to understand and literally do this valuation about like these different currencies that we might have in our system. And that is like something that you have to have anyway. But that's cool. And so, yeah, again, it's just like the information that you have, it's so easily, so easy for you to obtain, like I did on my video, that any person could do this like in 10 minutes or even in 1 minute, like I did in the video. And that's the whole idea behind, isn't it? I mean, I think that now that we have providers like this one, they literally like leverage the entire industry to a whole new level. So for us was like much more like about like what can we have with this provider. And so that's why we are using is working perfectly. And after that, I just would like to do like because we're almost running out of time, I would like to do like a quick session with you and showcase how we're doing a chip. And again, if you don't have chip, please download it, use it. You will thank me after. If you're struggle with savings, you can use chip to help you as well. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna showcase my personal account at chip, right? And again, there's no compliance issue on this. I authorize chip to showcase my account. So basically here we're gonna showcase how can you connect using the same flow. Of course that at chip we are not using Node.js, we are using PHP. There is a lots of different stuff that we are using chip that I'm not covering up here for compliance issues. I cannot showcase a lot of things, but the API it's the same and the flow is exactly the same. But now you're gonna see in live how that works. So when you open your chip app, you're gonna see your balance, and thankfully, we have a nice balance here, so we are saving a lot. So going towards my goal to buy my property. As you can see here, we are not connected to chip, right? So when you sign up a chip, you have to select which bank are you connected to. So I'm using Lloyd's. So, and now it's the first bit. When I click connect bank, remember that's the first bit when we're gonna request, we're gonna build up the URL. So here I'm gonna click connect bank. And now we are literally doing like for more compliance stuff. So, all right, so checking status is literally checking if you're already connected, if you're in the middle of the process. And because I'm not connected, I send you to TrueLayer URL. And now you're gonna see that it's exactly the same UI, isn't it? So if we go back to your demo, if I literally go here and I go to, let's see the UI version, the mobile version, let's inspect a little bit of this. Let's open the mobile iPhone X, refresh this. Fit to window. So requesting, oh, sorry, I lost my session on this one. Let me see if I can open this again very quickly. Let me check if I'm gonna be able to request a new session. And then I just would like to compare, only for you to know like the sandbox environment, how good it is, that you can literally have the confidence. All right, whatever worked on my sandbox environment, we work here. All right, I was hitting the callback. Sorry, mate, my bad.
That's all right.
Here. Yeah, so as you can see, it's exactly the same, right? I'm literally on iPhone X version here, but you can see that apart from the testing mode, you have exactly the same experience. So what I'm gonna do now is like I'm gonna prove this. And by the way, you can customize the colors and the layout and change the logo, this kind of stuff. And once I allow this, so yeah, just going through all the consent. So that's the consent that we ask for the customer. That's the data that we request. And now look, that's cool, isn't it? So because we already select the Lloyd's, we knew it, Chip knew it that you were connected with Lloyd's, right? We literally automatically bypass the bank selection. Because if I do this here on my demo and allow, all right, I got still to select my bank, right? So that's like a few tricks that you can do. So we bypass this section. And I'm gonna confirm now I'm in Lloyd's. And now Lloyd's will grab my face, we'll do the authentication layer, and then we're gonna go with the authorization phase. And now it will load my account. And with
so that's linked to your Lloyd's app with the face authorization, I guess. Yeah,
exactly. So now I just linked my account. Now it is going back to Chip, and now chip literally went back to TrueLayer. TrueLayer validated my connection, and now TrueLayer is requesting us, sending back to the customer. We are doing a bunch of different calculations as well. We are validating the customer, and now we are going to literally request the customer to open back the app. Hey, can you open chip? Because I do have chip dev that customers don't, it would open my chip dev. I don't want it to do this, so I went back to chip. And then you have this. Yeah, you're signed up, you're ready to go. And now I am bank connected on chip, which is amazing, which means like now chip can listen to my bank account, can list all my transactions, can analyze those transactions in order to make a better save prediction for me. And that's awesome, right? So
yeah,
basically, that's pretty much everything that you should know. Just a little bit of things to keep in mind for production solution. Think about a synchronous call when it's possible, right? At Chip, we have lots of asynchronous call. We don't rely too much on synchronously because we know that we can put so much stress. So things like queues and SQS and all this kind of stuff will help you in order to receive thousands of transactions like we have now. And fault tolerance implementation as well. Even TrueLayer, just keep in mind, they will not block the issues that the bank have. So let's say we try to fetch someone's transactions and the bank got some issue. TrueLayer will literally send the issue back to us. And so, I mean, nobody's perfect, right? But it's not their issue, right? It's just like the bank, for some reason, we couldn't fetch that specific transaction for that bank. So just keep in mind that sometimes you have to understand that the good flow will not work properly. And abstraction for multiple providers. So at Chip, we do have abstraction for multiple providers. Before TrueLayer, we were using another provider called Saltage, and we could use any other provider in the future, right? So let's say another provider will come up in the market. We can easily integrate that with another provider. So whatever you're doing, think about like abstracting your implementation, because that will help you to move forward to any new stuff that I have in the market. And regulation compliance. So it's not easy for you to have this. You have to have FCA authorization to run this, or you should be an agent of someone that already have. TrueLayer provides this authorization for you as long as you can be an agent of TrueLayer. And to do this, you have to comply with lots of different criteria that it is like under their process. But as long as you can be in that position, as long as you can provide that type of information and regulation, you're good to go, right? So basically, that's the open banking in less than 1 hour. I think that will literally open like your perspective about like how can you work with financial data, how easily that can be. And just think about like, it's not only TrueLayer, right? You have lots of different providers out there. But like TrueLayer, they literally providing you an easy way to test sandbox account, test environments, a sample that you can grab from GitHub and start coding by yourself. I think that the more people we have coding and testing, better the industry will be, because we're gonna come up with better solutions and better ways and more secure ways to deal with financial data. And that's it. Thank you a lot, guys. I think we are on time and we can be open for questions now, right?
Yeah, definitely. So we've got a few questions coming in. We'll get around to. Yeah, thanks for that, G. Really informative.
Cool.
I think that helps a lot of people. I mean, just looking at the polls down below, there's over 20 people that have voted. And
cool,
21 of them have not sort of created an open banking app before. So hopefully this has opened their eyes a bit. But it was really cool. Enjoyed that. Definitely interesting to see the difference since open banking started in the amount of firms that have started in this year. It's incredible. Cool. Right. So let's get around to some of these questions then, G. So we've got one from Jasvir here. Jasvir actually contributed quite a lot to our Code and Create session last week. So good to see you back, Jasvir. He's asked, what makes open banking secure? What kind of
Good question.
algorithms do you use for such security?
First thing is when you think about open banking, you think about like compliance and regulation, right? So that's the first thing, because before open banking, you've got companies like I just mentioned before that they were doing something called bank scraping. And bank scraping was pretty much like myself giving all my access to you and literally like having the confidence that you're going to store in a very secure way my password, my memorial information to you to be able to log on my bank on my behalf in any time that you would like to do this. And that was huge concern in the market. And of course, because I literally given all my access, even including the access that you could literally do transactions, right? You could literally do like payments for myself, even though I was connecting only for you to grab my transactions. And that was the first concern. So banks started to roll out the 2FA, so two-factor authentication, which would kind of trying to block this bank scraping. It still happen. You still have lots of different countries that they still doesn't have any open banking regulation. So companies, third-party providers, they are still relying on bank scraping, and that's like a huge concern. So the first thing that open banking is coming up is like, hey, let's put some standard across how we're gonna share that data. So which means like for TrueLayer perspective to be able to fetch transactions to the bank, they should be FCA authorized. And for them to be FCA authorized, they have to run lots of different compliance and regulation checks. And that's like a huge way for you to go. Unless you don't have this, you're not going to be able to even touch the open banking API for any bank. But once they got the access, they got the keys that they could read and interact with open banking. So that's the first phase of the regulation, right? I mean, the security phase. The second stage is like how companies like Chip got access to TrueLayer, got access to people's financial data. And that's another, that's again, you have lots of regulations and you have to be authorized to go there. And
I was going to ask about that actually, because obviously data privacy now is huge, isn't it? It's
exactly.
Such a big talking point. So yeah, how do you get around that?
So basically, we were an agent of PFS, and now we are FCA authorized. So which means like Chip are in the same level as TrueLayer, that we could go directly to the bank and fetch bank transactions, because we came like after a long time going through back and forth with regulation and compliance in order to get in that position, right? So which means like it's not like anyone that do have access to this, right? So that's like a huge security checks that you have to have. But even for the API itself, if you think about it, only the fact that TrueLayer doesn't hold any data, that's another breakthrough, because those providers that they were working with bank scraping, they got to hold information in order to provide to you. So let's say that I was working with another provider that we were doing bank scraping. They were using my customer credentials. They were holding my customer bank transactions in their hand in order to provide to me. That's not good, because if someone hacks their bank account or if someone hacks their infrastructure, we're gonna have like a huge issue, right? That will not happen with TrueLayer. They literally don't hold any bank information at all, and so that's another thing. And but now regarding Chip, what we do in our sides, like we have to keep in a very secure the secret from TrueLayer and these codes and these access codes. So that's why we use AWS secret manager to hold those secrets over there in a very secure way. So we make sure that those secrets will not be in the middle of the code or even on GitHub. Like we make sure that we're gonna be in a very secure way, and that's how we do. And we have encryption in our side as well to help us to encrypt anything that we think that is like a sensitive information. We're gonna encrypt this as well in our side. Hello? Hello? Yeah, we lost him. Yeah, fair enough. That's fine. I think we 2 seconds. No worries. I think that we can go. So can you listen? Can you hear me, guys? Then we can go to the next question. What do you think? Yeah, cool. All right, thanks, guys. Let's go. So the next one will be: does open banking make banking more transparent? Yeah, for sure. Thanks for the question. I think that's definitely a breakthrough the entire industry, isn't it? Because just think about it. The whole block that the banks they get in their way. So they were literally holding all this information because they knew it that at the moment that they open information, competition will start to happen a little bit in a speed that maybe they couldn't come up, right? So I think that now what's going on is like there's like a huge partnership between banks and these startups. So they are realizing that we can do very good work together, and the whole financial data is much more transparent for sure. Now, like any company could hold that information. So you're gonna see apps like Revolut. What they are doing is like amazing, right? You can literally not use your Revolut, but you can connect multiple accounts on your Revolut, and you can literally like use the same data to do this. Hey, we have you back.
You can see me.
Yeah, again.
Oh, good. Yeah, I think I had Wi-Fi issues there, but I was listening in. So yeah, well done for cracking
Cool.
on there, G.
No worries, mate. So third question.
Yeah, go on, crack on. So what where did we get to? I completely lost myself there. I could just leave now, G. So I just leave and let you crack on.
No, mate. we are together in this, mate.
So open banking make banking more transparent. You just answered that, didn't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool. So Vasilis, will the slides be publicly available? G, I guess that's down to you. I don't know if you want to be sharing some of that stuff, but I'm sure
I will. Yeah, definitely I will. Yeah. So make sure that you're following me on my LinkedIn. I'm going to be posting this slide over there. If you're not, you can go to the Orbis LinkedIn, and from there, you're going to find myself over there. But yeah, I will.
Yep. Yeah, we'll send over links to the TrueLayer, GitHub, all the links that G's mentioned throughout the last hour or so, and obviously the stuff that G's been showing us. So, and definitely keep an eye on his LinkedIn, follow his LinkedIn page. He comes out with some pretty cool videos. Cool. So next question. Do you use any kind of encryption? You actually mentioned this a minute ago on the first question.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, do you use any kind of encryption and decryption algorithm to store access token? If yes, can you please explain? Is there any specific sort of encryption tools that you use?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, we do have like a specific encryption, but that's like from the bank level. So that's like a specific from like RDS that we use on AWS, and there's not like a specific for one specific information. We do have a other type of encryption that we do on the keys that we store from personal like access token and code. And regarding the TrueLayer API limit, yeah, they do have, but they're not so strict with this. So I think that you can easily discuss with them, and hopefully you're not going to reach their limit. I mean, we never reached the limit. It's pretty high. The limit is not like short. We did use like other providers that the limit was very short, but not TrueLayer. So yeah, no issues.
Interesting question actually from AK. I think we've got time for one more. Does a bank need to comply / opt in for open banking? What happens if they're not comfortable with that approach? So I've actually seen banks. I know a few banks now have got their own sort of open banking platform within their apps, haven't they? HSBC, I know, is one where you can sort of store different banks' cards into your HSBC app. So go on, I'll let you answer that.
Again, I'm not from compliance at Chip, either regulation, but as far as I know, they should, and there's no way around. They have to, right?
Yeah.
It's just like the building societies, maybe that they are not like, it's not mandatory for them or even for a few startups, but the major banks they have to provide the open banking. And that's why that this whole rush is happening right now. Even for the bank side, they are literally running to increase the capabilities against the open banking, because there's so many startups that is coming up in the market that is requesting more and more data.
Yeah.
Right?
Cool. Yeah, look, I think that's all we've got time for now. G, thanks a lot for that. Everything, this is recorded, and we'll have it available on our Orbis page or our meetup page. We'll share it all over LinkedIn. I think it's up on YouTube as well. So yeah, thanks again for joining us, G. I really appreciate that. And yeah, thanks guys for joining us.
Thanks guys. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, we'll speak to you soon, G.
Have a good one. Bye bye.
Cheers, guys.